So Deja Knight is here with us. She's going to finish up our day. We have had the most amazing speakers today. And of course, we have our cocktail party tonight at the Spectator. So we hope those of you that would like to can join in with us tonight. And we're going to have a fun cocktail hour with our friend Krista Cotton and Molly Fanning, who's from here and does Red Clay Hot Sauce. But our last person of the day is Deja. And Deja has helped us. Really, she was one of the first to step in and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to help you. I get your mission. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. And we just really appreciate that about Deja. You're clearly such a connector in your city and a community creator, which is what we call our people who help us out a lot. So thank you so much. And you've worked in PR and communication for 9 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, just tell us your story and of you, Pearl PR, anything you want to tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on, and congratulations on the Charleston launch. I know that this is something, what you guys are offering is something that we really as women don't have, easy access to a lot of times. So Thank you for bringing that here to Charleston and to all the other cities that you're launching. So thank you.
Thank you.
But yes, so I started Pearl Public Relations or Pearl PR about 3 years ago. I did not know when I was younger that PR was what I was going to be doing in my life. If you would have asked me what PR was in like 2014, I'd be like, I have no idea. So I started my career out in television. So I was a reporter and anchor for several years, in college and right after college. I went to the University of Alabama. I'm from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And I think you guys are both from Birmingham or live in Birmingham, correct?
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
Awesome. Spent a lot of time there. So, PR wasn't on my radar for the longest time, but, life happens as it does. I had a really great, what I considered for myself a successful career in television. I got to interview so many amazing people, a lot of famous people, which was cool because I worked in Charleston, Nashville, and Atlanta. So politicians, singers, whoever you can think of, I got a chance to do all that kind of fun stuff and experience a lot of things. So then when I was in Atlanta, I had some life stuff happen and, I had to get out of television and really kind of was like, well, what am I going to do next? This is all I've ever wanted to do since I was about 5 years old. I mean, this was it. But, the media landscape changed. And so I really had to start looking into other professions and think, what is it that I want to do? So it's funny because people that leave television kind of like their rite of passage was like, you go into PR. That's just kind of like what you do.
Yeah.
So I started looking into it. I was living in Atlanta and I always wanted to come back to Charleston. I came to Charleston right after college and, obviously it's beautiful here, but the people here, I'm sure that as you guys have learned since being here, the people here are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's such an incubator for entrepreneurs, especially for women, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Just like the list of women you guys have had on today. I mean, they're all so fantastic. They're all so ready to help each other. And so that's what always drew me back to Charleston. So looked into PR, revamped my resume, and somehow landed a job, very entry level. I was 27 years old at the time and, kind of starting over, which was kind of scary. Going back to making that entry level, position salary and just working my way up again, which was exciting, but a little scary at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I got a job with a company that was based out of New England and, worked my way up from entry level position to actually vice president to where I was running their Charleston office here. They had offices up and down the East Coast. And, my family has always been entrepreneurs. My husband's an entrepreneur. And I just kind of thought to myself, I could, could I do this for myself? Could I work for myself and, kind of make my own rules and all that good stuff. So, very, very quickly, I decided, I would say within a couple days, I think I want to make this exit from the company and start my own. So with the help of friends and family, like I had some friends that designed my logo, helped me with my web copy, hooked me up with like a great accountant. So with, the help of them, I was able to launch Pearl PR a little over 3 years ago. So it's been an exciting ride since then. Sometimes, really up and sometimes really down, but I wouldn't have it really any other way. I feel like it's just a completely different world working for yourself, in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And so tell us about PR, because if you're a business and you don't know much about the whole ecosystem, marketing, PR, you might not even know the difference or when to hire a PR firm, for example. Like, when should someone think about PR as part of their business plan as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find myself having this conversation a lot. It's a lot of education because it does get confusing. It was definitely confusing to me when I was looking into the industry, to begin with. Yeah. So really marketing is kind of like the umbrella, and underneath it is, advertising, PR, social media marketing, those different subsets that fall under that marketing umbrella. So PR is one of those, those categories, those divisions. Yeah. So public relations, what I like to say is, you're trying to get other people to tell your story. So we'll be that in magazines, television, podcasts, even blogs, you're trying to get other people to tell your story, because you have convinced them that you have a great product or a great brand, or, you are a person of expertise and you want to be known as that. As whereas, advertising is more, you're paying to be in a magazine or you're paying for that commercial on television. Yeah. So that's kind of like how I like to explain it. And as far as, when people should really look into PR, it can be something that you can try and do on your own first, which I think here in Charleston has been, I've seen a lot of women who have done such a great job of being their own voice for their brands and their companies and putting themselves out there and doing things like speaking with you guys, just making those connections. But once your company gets to a point that it's hard for you to be constantly doing that outreach and, seeking out the right people to tell your story to, that's usually when I suggest, well, maybe it's time that, you look into hiring someone to do your PR, whether it's just an individual or if it's a national firm, small or medium size. Yeah. Because it does become a full-time job. Kind of what goes into it is, for me and, my employees, we are researching and, trying to figure out who are the best writers, who are the best TV hosts, who are the best influencers and bloggers to reach out to tell our client's story and to really have the maximum amount of exposure that we can get. And it takes a lot of time, really the research and figuring out, how certain people like to be pitched, is this outlet the right outlet to be telling my client's story? It's very time consuming. So anytime I say, or anytime anyone asks me that about, when should we start looking, into PR, it's usually that's my answer. When you find that you are so busy with all the other stuff that you can't be your own champion, maybe start to look for somebody else to help you with telling your story.
And I think that's a great point, because Lauren and I changed careers kind of midlife from being an attorney into wealth management and then the wealth edit. So I feel like I was a little bit like thrown into just this world of marketing that I've never had to do as an attorney. I mean, the type of law that I practice, it was just, you were just, there was a steady flow, and it wasn't because of anything I did necessarily. And so here, you get into this position where, we both like love what we're doing and we want to tell as many people about it as we can. And we're building a business, so we really want everybody to know what we're doing. But what we have found has been hard is like really articulating like who we are, the message that we want. And then like kind of to your point, like who's the best person to help us get that message out. And what I've realized, and it's like made me like really feel this way for the PR people, is like, I hate it. I mean, that takes a very specific skill on your part to be able to like hear us talk and then articulate it back to a third party.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, like, kudos to you, because that is hard. And it's also for us, I'm like, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but I don't know how to articulate it. So like, what are some of the ways that you work with these new clients who have a new business? They've just gotten to the point where they're like, okay, I need your help. But like to pull out like how best to communicate who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, what we like to do, in the business sense, is when we bring on a new client, we really want to get to know them on a really personal level. I think it's hard if you keep it all business, like you keep it all up here, to tell that story, to tell that client's story, because you don't really get to know who they are, what their core values are, what their purpose is. So, we really like to spend, starting up front, like a whole day. Either, for instance, I have a client that owns one of the largest pecan farms in the United States, out of Georgia, actually. And so we went down to Georgia. We spent all day with them, touring their factory, having breakfast and lunch with them, and, really just diving into who they are as people and what they care about with their company. Mm-hmm. When I get to know a client, one of the things I like to do is I ask them, when you go to a party, like a cocktail party or somewhere, like a birthday party, whatever, where there's people there that you don't really know and you're explaining to them what you do, what are some of the points that other people find fascinating about you and about what you do? And tell me those things. Because have you ever done that when you go to like a party or something and you'll start to people like, what do you do? And you start telling them, they're like, oh my God. And they pick up on something that you typically wouldn't think is that interesting, but it is to other people.
Yes.
Yes. Those are the kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because so many people don't realize how interesting their own stories are. So that's a trick I always like to ask. And even if I can get clients all in one place, or attend like an event with them and kind of see and pick up on what people are asking them and what people are fascinated about. That's a really good tool that I use to find out what I need to be pitching and what I need to be learning about that client.
Yeah. What do you think is important for like potential clients or clients to do more than anything else in publicity? So like, what should someone be doing, whether they can afford to hire a PR firm or not?
One of the biggest things that I love to get my clients involved with is philanthropy.
Yeah.
Because I think if you can really, align yourself with a charity or a purpose or a passion that benefits and helps other people or another cause, I think, that's where you really thrive, as a company, as a person. And it might, as entrepreneurs, I feel like we get so bogged down that we kind of, not that we ever lose our passion, but we kind of forget about everything else in our lives sometimes besides like our actual business. So I always say, find out how you and your business can align yourselves or get involved with a philanthropy or charity. I think that's so important. When I talk to clients about it, I call it like a good neighbor program. Yeah. And you can find really creative ways besides just donating time or donating money, like coming up with interesting events or interesting initiatives that's going to help put your favorite charity's name out there, but it's going to link your name to it too. And you want to be linked to something you're passionate about. So I think that is a great way to open doors, to give back, and to really, keep your passion and your purpose, alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because I do think that's such a concrete way to share with others, other than just us sitting here talking about it, like who we are and what we find important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
I think it's something too that, people care about what brands are doing now. I think it was 80% of millennials, they are researching where they're buying their products. Where's their food coming from? Where's their products coming from? And I think to really establish yourself and commit yourself to a cause, a greater good cause, is super, super important.
Yeah. Well, we love that, because philanthropy is one of the top ways I think that you can really, especially for women, it's such an easy thing to bring into your financial literacy and the fabric of your family. And it helps people, especially those who have a lot of wealth. To me, I think it's like just an IV to protect your family from a lot of issues that come up around money. So, it sounds like for PR, that's another common thread, which I just love. So tell me about, okay, what are some things if you were to approach somebody and, you want to tell your story, what are some like absolute no-nos? Like, don't ever do this with a publication.
Okay, let's see. That's a really good question.
I want to know.
Yeah.
So I think that this is important in PR, but as well as, even personal relationships. And I actually just saw this on Instagram the other day. Don't overshare too soon. That person that you meet at a party and they come up to you and you start talking, and then all of a sudden, their entire life story, the good, the very bad. And you're just like, oh my God, okay. I feel very uncomfortable right now.
Yes.
I think that is a good rule of thumb with business, with PR as well. Of course, you don't want everything to look peachy keen and that, your story was easy and you started your business. Now here you are. Of course, you want to share, the trials and tribulations that you went through. But I think there's certain things, and I think we can recognize them too, that we shouldn't share.
Yeah.
That's definitely one thing I would think. And another thing is not to have this false confidence where your, brand, your company, your product you've come up with is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you just don't understand why a publication wouldn't want to write about you.
Yeah.
Editors get hundreds and hundreds of pitches every single day.
Yeah.
And that's something too, that's, can be, it's a long game with PR a lot of times. So, really just being self-aware and doing the research on other companies that might be like yours. Why are you different than your competitor? And kind of showcasing it that way, as opposed to just saying, we're the best, you should check us out. Give them a really good reason why to. So I think that that's super important. I'll give you an example. And I'm going to, use my husband's company because that's just what I'm kind of thinking of. Yeah. He owns an oyster farm here in Charleston. So there are hundreds of oyster farms, all over the country. And so what makes his different than other oyster farms? So for him, he has a small team. Each one of the oysters that comes out of the ocean that's going into your package that's getting shipped to you was hand touched by a farmer the day before, 24 hours before. Mm-hmm. So it's not, harvested by machine or sorted by machine. Everything has been touched by a farmer's hands before it is put into a package and shipped to your door. So I think that's something that's a differentiator of his farm as compared to maybe like a bigger farm, where everything's more computerized and, they're using more machinery to do that sorting. So that's just, one example of how you can kind of make your story stand out a little bit more. And people love that human aspect too. So anything you can do to really tell, that human interest part of your story is really important.
Yeah.
That's great. And then what about like so you're making pitches, and how do you choose like which ones to do? Do you say yes to them all, or is there a certain like formula you think through when you're trying to decide, am I going to take this opportunity to speak? I think Lauren and I just say yes.
Yeah, we just say yes.
We're just like, yes. And of course we're not at the point where we have to pick and choose, really, but we can do it all. But, sometimes you think like, you're approached by something and you're like, I'm not sure that's like the best platform for us, or, we really want to be more considered more lifestyle than financial gurus or whatever it is, like in picking that, is there ever a reason to just like say no thank you, like as you're trying to figure out who you want everybody else to see you, like who you are? Does that make sense? I don't feel like I'm asking that question very well, but
no, you're fine. Okay, when you say or you say like me, like to say no to certain pitches, or are you talking about writers saying no? Or
I'm saying like, so let's say if we're working with you and we are saying like, this is sort of who we want to be. This is like we feel like this is our best target market. Yeah, we're getting different options to talk and in different like areas, and so we're saying, well, no, we really want to be considered this. So should we take these speaking opportunities, which I think is going to be yes, as you're growing. But I guess it's been hard to sometimes say like, this is who we are and this is kind of the area we want to be featured in. Do we continue to do all this other stuff on the side that seems a little like off in left field?
Okay, I see what you mean. I think it really depends. I think if it's something that's just totally not a right fit, like it's not your brand, it's, their audience is not the audience that, is going to, be reciprocal to you, then I think it's okay to say no. Like, I don't think this is a good fit. At the same time, that doesn't mean if it's, like a smaller opportunity, or, an opportunity that might be a little uncomfortable and might ask you some questions that, really make you think, or, I think that it's okay to say yes to those types of opportunities. But I think in your gut, I'm really a huge believer in going with your instinct.
Yes.
And if you think it's not a right fit, and always research everything before you say yes to it.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the big things, that research is huge in our industry. So I think if you figure out, okay, their audience is not my target, they're not going to care what I have to say, and I don't think it's a good fit, then, thank you for the opportunity, but no thanks.
Yeah.
And then I really think a lot of that is the gut instinct. Like, does this feel right or doesn't it? And that's kind of how, I am even with picking and choosing clients, is do we have synergy? Like, are their core values aligned with mine and my employees' core values? I think that those types of things are really important when choosing clients, when choosing opportunities to align yourself with, and so on.
Absolutely. Well, what's next for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I've got a lot of stuff going on this year, personally and professionally. We are wrapping up our 3rd round interviews for our next hire. Great. Which is really exciting. We are hiring an account executive to really kind of work alongside me, because we are getting a lot of clients, and which is great. Especially after last year, I feel like so many people, including myself, it was such a, scary time for everybody. For things to start to be building back is fantastic. So that's what's next for us as far as professionally. I'm really excited about adding to our team. Yeah. And I just wrote a children's book, and I'm looking for an agent. So
that's awesome.
So if you know anybody there, that would be great. That's kind of something that I had been wanting to do for the last couple of years. And I finally woke up at 4:00 in the morning a few months ago and wrote it in 45 minutes. So now I'm just looking to get that out there. Right. So we'll see what happens.
What's the title? As a little teaser.
It is Ollie the Oyster Saves the Ocean.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a little bit science and a little bit, just a good kid book, a good inspirational children's book. So my husband's farm, of course, was part of the inspiration there. So we'll see how it goes.
That's really neat.
I love it.
Well, we are really appreciative that you came on today, and for all that you've done to just connect us in Charleston. So thank you. And the question we love to ask at the end of every interview is just, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit?
So the reason I said yes, when I first saw you guys, I saw you wanted to tell other women's stories as part of your launch in Charleston. And that is why I did television. That's why I did PR, was to tell other people's stories. So I loved that approach that you guys have, and using women as examples to, share their story and for us to learn from other people. So that's why I wanted to say yes. And I'm really glad that you guys are here.
I'm really glad that you did.
I know. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for your help. That's what we have been so blown away by, the women who stop and help. as we are building. And I think that says so much about you and your firm, is that you're committed to helping women across the board. And we just are very thankful for that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. And congratulations again. I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
All right, have a
Bye.
great day.
You too. Bye.